What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Kingdom Cast, Tell the Truth, episode 37. Yours truly, D-Mac, DG, and CJ. We're back. Chiefs camp, more importantly, is back. In St. Joseph, the quarterback and rookies reported today. We got to hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. Oh, man. You can smell the St. Joe's gasoline from Sunoco in the air. Beautiful time.
Kind of heavy, fellas. Getting kind of tight.
A beautiful time of year when 25 and 35-year-old men have to sit in dorms for the next month while they continue to swelter in 95-degree heat and run sprints that Andy Reid is designed to break you and then build you back up accordingly. So shout out to the Chiefs, man. It made them.
Where else would you rather be?
Exactly. The full team will be up there starting on Friday, and we'll see what comes of it. We did get a little bit of news today, but first of all, how you guys doing? DG, CJ, how you guys living, man?
Y'all smell that?
I can smell the sod from over here.
Smells like training camp.
Freshly cut grass, the ice, right? The Gatorade, the cleats clacking. You hear it all, and I can hear it in my mind right now. It's football season.
It's definitely getting back to football season. You know, NCAA college football drop. You see Patrick Mahomes walking up the sidewalk, the training camp. You know, it's a beautiful time, man. Football is almost back. We almost got I think this is the last month without football, fellas. Last month.
We will have preseason games starting next month. Obviously, college football will be back next month, and hey,
week 0,
right back
baby.
to it.
Right.
Until then, we're gonna have training camp to hold us over, and a whole lot of college football 25.
I'm on the sticks if y'all want to get at me. My PSN is my at name. You feel me? At CGG81 if y'all want to get down. I'm using UCF and Oregon. I'm giving y'all disclaimers right now, and I'm running everybody.
Yeah, I made the
light work.
You know, after being with the Chiefs, you know, on the Chiefs coaching staff, you know, 3 Super Bowls. You know, I felt like it was time to make a move, man, and you know, Appalachian State, you know, head coach now, man. You know, so we ready to rock. You know, getting that ACC and see what we can do.
Absolutely. You know, I've got my Mizzou dynasty ready. I'm gonna start my little road to glory. Don't go down there to the U. Just have some fun. And I'm doing my West Virginia Mountaineers rebuild as we speak right now. So having had a lot of fun on college football 25. But I had to mess up KU real quick with Luther Burden just to warm up on the stage. Had a real good time with that. Shout out to Luther Burden. He actually liked the tweet, by the way. I saw that earlier today. So as far as Chiefs camp and what we heard today from Andy Reid amongst, some talk about making sure that people do not get eased into practice. They in fact get the whole load immediately, as Patrick Mahomes said. And Andy Reid,
no diddy.
Tried to walk back immediately after.
We don't need no jokes.
We did. Oh, we'll be all right, King Bro. Don't worry about it. We got a good defensive coordinator. We'll be fine. We did get a little bit of injury update as far as people that will start out either on PUP or a non-football injury. And with the return of training camp, of course, comes back with Pete Sweeney tweets. Shout out to Pete Sweeney. So non-football injury list will be B.J. Thompson. Obviously, the unfortunate situation that he had earlier in the off season during, I think it was technically mandatory minicamp. So he's on his way on the mend. Andy Reid spoke highly of what he's been doing to get back into it. So hopefully we'll see him out there sooner rather than later. As far as PUP, you will see Derek Nottie, who had tricep surgery, Charles Omenihu coming back from that torn ACL in the AFC Championship game, Joe Tooney working back from that torn pectoral also in the divisional round, and Jalen Watson had off-season surgery as well. It was a torn labrum.
I think he tore his labrum. He played half the season with a torn labrum.
Yeah, he had it in the sling after the game.
Yeah. Insanity that he played half the year with the torn labrum. Shout out to Jalen
Watson. Corner, that's crazy.
Their corners, it's
all
insane.
you're doing is punching. Crazy.
But yeah, so those guys We'll start out on PUP, and we'll see how they work back as far as the season is projected. From what we've heard to this point, Joe Tooney sounds like he's on track to be ready for the start of the season. We will obviously monitor that closely. Minihue may be a little bit longer. Watson and 90 hopefully will be back during sometime in training camp. And Leo Chanel kind of was held out during minicamp. Nothing really to concern there. And Xavier Worthy, as we discussed, according to Patrick Mahomes, is not going to get eased in. Rich, as Rashee Rice found out last year, being the lone high drafted rookie in mini camp or in training camp to start out means you're going to run a lot, and you may have to vomit a few times during practice, but you'll be fine. So shout out to P20 for the injury updates from that standpoint. Anything as far as that news that concerns you guys, or just stands out from that perspective?
Nah, I think the Watson injury shouldn't be anything that people are real concerned about. Probably just want to be really precautious with him after having off-season surgery. Of course, we know Tooney what happened to him, so probably wouldn't expect him back till probably beginning of the season, week 1. Yeah, so nothing really causing for concern. Nothing that shocked me or anything like that. I actually forgot about the Jalen Watson injury, and then I was like, yeah, I forgot he played half the year, pretty much his shoulder being broken. So
I've talked to people around the city that have been in contact with JY. They said he's cool.
Yeah,
so I ain't really worried about him. But one of the biggest one, I think the biggest news out of all these guys, Charles Omenihu, we expected him. Now that we expected Joe Tooney, I'm glad that he's progressing well. I fully expected him not to be ready to start a training camp, given that injury was in February and we're in July. So obviously you're going to be super cautious with your all-pro left guard. Outside of Creed, he's probably our most important lineman. So honestly, I wouldn't expect Joe really to be back until maybe the second week of training camp. And there's no rush to bring him back anyway. We know who he is. Yeah. He knows who he is in this offense. He knows like the back of his hand. Him and Andy Eck are always on the same page. So whenever Joe's ready to come back, I'm sure Rick will make sure he's fully clear before we get him back in there in full pads. But no rush to bring Joe Tooney back. He's been there, done that. He is a four-time champ, from New England. So there's no need to bring him back early at all. So he's fully engaged with the offense. He knows what to do. I'm sure he'll coach up all the guys. I'm interested to see how engaged he is with trying to get, obviously, our left tackle competition, get those guys ready, whether it be Wanye or Kingley, whoever decides to take over the job. But their interaction and that dynamic will be very interesting for me to see once we get up to St. Joe and seeing that. But, yeah, I'm fully expected to Joe to take all his time to come back. So,
yeah. Definitely fair enough. So, yeah, that is the news that we immediately got. And there were some quotes floating around, but I don't think anything too crazy as far as that was concerned. And as we get further into camp, obviously, we'll have some nuggets cleaned. And some of us as well will also be making the trip up to St. Joe and enjoying that as well. CJ and I will be there Monday the 22nd. See what's going
Bucket
down.
Hat season.
Yes, Bucket Hat season for sure, man. Looking forward to it. So we were talking about training camp and the roster as far as things are concerned a little bit later on in the show, but something I did want to bring to attention with training camp coming up, and we've seen around the league a few guys starting to get paid. Quinn Marines, before we just came on, offensive guard for the Broncos, did just get a brand new spanking deal to continue to run whatever the Broncos are doing in Denver. And so shout out to him. Obviously,
like this.
Trey Smith, like, hey man, we trying to get it back, which is why I did want to bring up this topic. And also shout out to oh man, why did I just forget? Oh, Brandon Ayuk from the defending NFC champions. Not a fan of where his contract situation is at.
He requested a trade.
Yes, officially requested a trade, which is something that we've seen for 49ers players in the past. We'll see how they end up handling it in this circumstance. Brandon Ayuk is seeking $30 million a year, and I will not disagree that he is not worth it. So we will see how that ends up getting resolved. And of course, earlier this week we heard the news as far as T. Higgins was concerned, going to play this year on that tag. So as it pertains to the Chiefs, no one, fortunately, dealing with a franchise tag situation, which we are very happy that we do not have to deal with that this year. Thank the good Lord. But we are dealing with some guys that are highly productive and are looking to be highly paid on this team going into 2025. And I just pulled up the pending free agent list for the Kansas City Chiefs. see some big names there. Obviously, the interior offensive line, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, two excellent draft picks. Those are going to be the headliners. Justin Reed, veteran safety, leader on the back end, obviously going to be a headliner from that perspective as well. Noah Gray, tight end two. Hollywood Brown on that 1 year mercenary deal as well. Derek Noddy, a guy that's been useful on a consistent basis in the interior defensive line. And then you get kind of to the big one in Nick Bolton, middle linebacker there, been a leader on that defense, a guy that has been pegged as the fifth best off-ball linebacker according to ESPN rankings as well throughout this offseason. There's some other guys, certainly Harrison Bucker down there, pending free agent that is worth speaking on as well. So question for you guys is really simply, who do you think ends up getting extended, if any of these guys, before camp either starts or just in general before the season starts?
My best guess would be probably Creed. At this point, I think the Chiefs are kind of taking an emphasis of making sure their franchise quarterback is protected and has weapons around him. So I feel like they would probably make that a point of emphasis to make sure that his main guy, his main bodyguard, and Creed Humphrey, who gets everybody lined up on the line and calls out protections and stuff like that, would be probably the main focus. It wouldn't shock me if Nick got extended as well too. I think he's a very vital part of that defense, but I can also see it as a kind of a thing that they roll over into probably the next season's priorities or whatever. So my expectation would be probably getting Creed done this training camp.
Absolutely, I agree. Creed is obviously the most important part of all those three. I love Trey. I love Nick for everything they do. Those are all pro, all caliber players that had great seasons for us last year, even though Nick dealt with the injuries. Trey's been one of the better right guards in football, but of all the guys, the most important one is Creed. Like DG said, he's the call out protections, pass right hand man as far as when you get under center, a guy that's always going to be in sync with him. They obviously have a connection. He's the best center in football. He's obviously he's young as well, so you have to lock him in for another 3-4 years to get as much out of him as you can. So I think of those three, Creed is definitely a top priority. I wouldn't mind seeing Nick get his deal done earlier because obviously linebacker value is not as high as it compared to other guys in the position of roster needs. But right now, if I had to pick a guy to get, if I'm predicting what's going to happen, I think Creed, if anybody gets paid, it would be him. And maybe Trey or Nick could probably wait it off till next offseason. But if anybody get paid, I think it would be Creed Humphrey if we're talking about right now before training camp or before we go into preseason. But of all those three, I think he's the most likely. If none of them got paid, that'd be an option as well. But I think it's either Creed or none of the three this year for me. And then we'll see what happens next summer or next spring.
Yeah, I think as you look at it, you guys picked the right guy. Creed Humphrey, again, elite center in the league, arguably the best in the league now that Jason Kelce has retired. He makes the most sense from that standpoint. Center is not a position that's had an explosion as far as the price tag is concerned. So that makes a little bit more sense. I think that Trey Smith, for as good as he has played, he's a guy that's probably going to end up hitting the open market and then gets paid a whole lot of money elsewhere. And that's just going to have to be how it kind of goes. And, that'd be, sad to see, but that's why you draft two interior offensive linemen in this year's draft to see if you can develop one and possibly start one next year. And so, Hollywood Brown, I don't think is getting obviously extended before the year. He just signed a contract. Justin Reed, I think if they need the cap space, that could have been something they explored, but it seems like they're pretty well solidified as far as that is concerned. So I don't expect anything really to happen there. Minihue was an interesting case, and I think that they did offer one to him earlier on in the offseason, but he ended up turning it down and probably will end up going into the season on the contract that he has as he recovers from that ACL. So for me, it really is Creed Humphrey, and obviously Nick Bolton is another big candidate, but according to his interview, it was something that he was going to leave to the end of the year, and I think that he's angling to hopefully get an all-pro type of selection and get himself in position to have an even bigger contract as well coming up to next offseason, and that'll be a very interesting negotiation on a multitude of fronts as well. The other guy that I will mention that is possibility is Harrison Bucker. He's had clutch kick after clutch kick after clutch kick for this team, still been able to execute at a high level as well. Could be possibility. I believe which kicker just got paid. Dustin Hopkins for the Cleveland Browns just got his new extension. Could be a possibility where Harrison Bucker goes out and gets a new extension as well. So him and Creed would be the two guys that I'd watch before the season to see if they get brand new contracts as well. So talking about obviously extension candidates and how that pertains to the entirety of the 53 man from that perspective, we do have a 53 man roster projection. Now I did this personally, and these guys have not seen it yet, but I'll be showing it to them and see if they have any specific gripes or disagreements, and this will be going live on the Kingdom Cast account tomorrow morning for everybody to kind of dig into and see personally as well. So, Rondo.
I can't wait for everybody to argue about wide receiver 5. Oh, yeah, boy, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Wide receiver 5, boy. We're going to have the guy, rich people problems. What they call it, DG? Spoiler around here, ain't we?
Very.
God. This is
every offseason.
Hopefully, you guys can see that fairly well.
Boy. So, yeah, I can see
it. Keep up with that. But yes, so this is my own projection. This is not DG and CJ's, but it is my own projection. And I just wanted to put it in front of them and see if they had any specific disagreements. But before they start, I'll just run down it real quick. Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz makes the most sense. Obviously, they signed him in the offseason as far as Carson Wentz was concerned to be the backup. I expect him to be. It'll be interesting to see if they have any specific plays for him or if he's in the traditional backup role per usual. Running back, especially running back 3, is something we will discuss. It's a very interesting position. I do have Keontae Ingram as the guy right now and Luis Rees-Zammit. I think that they're going to try and use him on special teams to start out. I think both of those guys, and specifically the fact that Rees-Zammit did not get the International Player Program designation that Drew Godric ended up getting, is something to watch for him possibly being on this roster. Wide receiver, we will discuss this, of course, a big-time thing. I believe the top 4 are locked in, though. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and Justin Watson. I do think Rashee Rice is still going to get suspended. We will end up seeing. And as a result, that'll open up an extra spot to keep an extra wide receiver on the roster, though. I do think that the Mecole Hardman is the most likely to be kept after Justin Watson as far as wide receiver 5 is concerned. But I do think that Sky Moore and Nico Remigio end up filling those last 2 spots, and I do have Kadarius Toney down there as a trade candidate or cut candidate because
you should have put cut. Trade is dead. That's dead.
I'm always going to lean against the person that ends up never being healthy. I'm sorry. Tight ends a little bit interesting. I only have 3 tight ends. I think that Irv Smith could be a guy that ends up on the practice squad, but I do think that Jared Wiley is going to end up above them. And they can play a little bit of matchups if they want to use more 13 personnel. But that certainly can change if they feel like they want to go 3 running backs or even 5 wide receivers if the opportunity presents itself and they want to keep Irv Smith. I certainly understand that. Tackle, for now, I'm sticking with Lucas Dieng, but I think he's going to have a battle on his hands to hold off Drew Godric. And we'll just see if that ends up changing things from that perspective. I will say I do have Kingsley projected as a starting left tackle right now. Everything we've heard is that he's above Wanya Morris as far as competition is concerned. I think Wanya can get some more work inside, so I'll be fascinated to see from that perspective. I think both rookie interior offensive line picks make it and alongside Mike Caliendo as well to add that depth between the top 3. Especially with Joe Tooney, the question mark on the mend, we'll see. Flipping over to the defense, interior defensive line is kind of standard, but I do have Fabian Lovett Sr. on there, the UDFA out of FSU, a guy that we talked about from during our conversation, Country and I, with Ryan Tracy overall from RGR Football about his ability possibly to make it onto the roster. Edge, again, pretty standard. Charles Ameni, who's starting the season possibly on the PUP list or the IR. We'll end up seeing what happens from that perspective, and that could open up another defensive roster spot as well. There'll be plenty of competition here with guys like Truman Jones and B.J. Thompson for edge spots. Linebacker do have 6. I think the new special teams rules will necessitate maybe keeping an extra linebacker on the roster. You do have UDFA out of Penn State, Curtis Jacobs making it as well with Cam Jones as the 4th guy. Cornerback and safety, pretty standard, maybe what you expect. I mean, I think cornerback will have some depth competition, but I think Najee Johnson has a chance to take that second cornerback spot, to say the least. And I'll certainly be fascinated to see what the safety rotation ends up looking like. So anything that stands out for you guys, we'll start on the offensive side of the ball.
I would,
crazy to me.
Yeah, nothing really crazy to me. Kind of do believe I could potentially see Andy bringing back his fullback back this year. And I don't know I guess if Reese Emmett would take over that position or whatever, but I kind of could see a Carson Steele making the 53 as well too. Um, I also kind of the tight end situation is a little skeptical to me too because I I could see them cutting Irv Smith Jr., but I also could see them wanting to see what he possibly could potentially bring to the 53 as well too. I think that was one of the what that was like their second signing out of free agency when free agency started or something like that, if I remember correctly. But all in all, man, yeah, my biggest thing, and I've been saying it all off season. I don't think Kadarius Toney makes this team. I just think it's one of them times where you just gotta chalk your hands up and just say it's time to just cut ties, man. Like, we'll see what he has in training camp. I think if there's an injury that comes up, I really don't believe he makes this roster at all. I think the Mecole Hardman signing kind of made that spot for him a little dicey. Um, just because of what Miko can already kind of do for this team, it kind of takes away what Kadarius Toney is ultimately on this team to do, which is return kicks and punts and things of that nature. Now signing McCole, who can kind of do both and plus knows the system extremely well. I just don't see him making the squad. No, a lot of people have their question marks about Sky Moore, but I just feel like Sky's a lot more polished receiver right now than Kadarius Toney is right now, and I think he adds a little bit more value at that spot for them. So yeah,
available too.
Yeah, I love no disrespect to KT.
We're
Appreciate
talking
everything
about wide receiver
done.
6, bro. If you're not
Yeah,
available, we're not even having a conversation. So
yeah, I think I agree with you, D Mag. I think the top four are locks for sure. But yeah, that and I honestly think McCall is a lock as well too.
I don't think it's a coincidence that they brought him back. Like I think they brought.
You think they brought him back to say, "Oh yeah, bro, we don't know if you're gonna make the." He knows the offense better than outside of Hollywood and he knows the offense better than any of these receivers. Come on.
And when you're talking about Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, for everything that people like to talk about Mecole Hardman, having that experience in the offense does help to have that guy in the room. So I think there is value in having him there, specifically talk more so with Xavier Worthy, but also Hollywood Brown from that perspective as well. Anything
he's like a second coach on the field. Tell him everything for the route tree, what Pat likes, what Andy likes, what they don't like, all the questions they have. He's going to walk through everything. He's even going to help out. I know we were arguing about our receivers coach, and obviously, like, he had a tough time last year, and he had a lot of flack on his head, and rightfully so, even though it was his first time doing the job. Mecole can also essentially, not like he's going to do a job for him, but can be like another coach in the field for him. So obviously, when they're having those conversations after plays, in between huddles, in between drills, Mecole will tell you all the answers instead of running the Pat, running Andy. Mecole would say, "This is what you did wrong in a route. This is the coverage you need to look for." All those answers are invaluable. Those are things people don't know, but Mecole knows all those answers. So, like D-Mac said, there's a reason they brought Mecole back. So he's making a roster. Yeah. It's not even a question to me.
Yeah, they needed that veteran presence, like we kind of said, going into the off season. I think they just needed a guy in there that knew what he was doing. Know what the expectations are, especially bringing in a lot of these young guys. And I know a lot of people will say, well, Hollywood's a veteran. He hasn't been in the system, So to bring in a guy who kind of knows, the ropes, knows how to win championships, been in big spots, played in big games, made plays in big games. I think that's vital for them to have in that locker room. So, yeah, I think McCall is definitely a lock to make this roster. But, sorry, Kadarius Toney,
Appreciate you, gang.
Appreciate you, gang, but, you got to go, bro.
Business. You did business.
Right.
And look, it's, again, I'm projecting in that he doesn't make it. DG and CJ obviously are as well. It's if he makes it through this training camp healthy, they're probably going to keep him on the team. As much as I would not like to see that happen, they're probably going to do that. So we will see. We'll see if he makes it through healthy.
if he did, it'd probably be over Nico if they picked somebody.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And again, this is
Remigio probably go to practice squad.
Yeah, and again, this is questioning again if Rashee Rice gets a suspension, because if they let this process play out, then we'll have to deal with it obviously during the season, which nobody wants to have happen, or after the season, which would be fine, I suppose. But if he does get a suspension, then it opens up a spot. And if he doesn't, then Sky Moore, Nico Remigio, Kadarius Toney, you guys got a heck of a battle on your hands, and that's before we start talking about Justin Watts or Montrell Harrell or Cornell Powell from that perspective. So it'll certainly be fascinating to see. Anything on defense catch you guys' eye?
Nothing out of the way too much. I mean,
nope.
Yeah, I mean the battle between Fabian Lovett and
Mr. Lovett,
Neil Farrell should be interesting. I agree with you with the Dion. I think they're gonna end up keeping Dion, but I think he'll probably be a practice squad guy.
Yeah, you got 4 guys. When you drafted Jaden Hicks, he kind of knew what time it was.
Yeah.
So
I think Dion definitely knows his role on this team.
And you got hella DBs because when guys get hurt, guys come up and concussions and everything. So yeah, he'll be on the roster, just not the 53. So
yeah, I don't see anybody.
I love the room. Yeah,
potentially getting cut, or anything like that.
You got to keep all your DBs. You need as many as possible. It's a long season. We know how that goes. So
right. Would definitely love to see the cornerback battle between who's going to fight for that second cornerback spot between Najee, Joshua, and Jalen.
I'm excited to see Najee back out there. I want to see if you get 100% or how close he is. Because usually when you come off a knee injury, the year after is the year you look by yourself. So for him, it would be 25 where he gets back to being 100%. But some guys speed up that process a lot quicker. So maybe he does look like Najee we saw in training camp this year. So I saw him walking to camp. He had a big grin on his face. So I don't think nobody's more excited to go to training camp than him right now. So,
I think the good part for him is that it happened in camp last year. So
full year.
You had a full year in between, full season, and plus an off season to kind of get back, rehab, and and get back. So he definitely, I seen him too. He definitely looks excited, ready to go. Probably be a little bit cautious these first couple of days just to make sure you make it through to when the veterans actually show up. But he looked like he was ready to go, man.
Shout out to his mom too. She tweeted at him too. So I know
mom's has definitely been keeping us updated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So glad you guys did point out anything that really came up as far as the defense is concerned. And like I said, this will be going live on.
Shout out Mike Pennell coming to training camp, bro. We ain't seen him here forever. He could be sitting at the crib right now. He be sitting at home. He at training camp now.
Right. Chris Jones tweeting out he ready for training camp. I was like,
they got to be in the crib.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all think they're gonna have the dorm room or they gonna have the little trailer like they did last time?
Nah, they'll probably.
Last year they had the trailer. They was sitting there just chilling.
Right. Nah.
Hey man, after the postseason that Mike Pennell had, that he earned a spot on his roster. He earned a spot on his roster.
Got Brian Cook coming back off injury. Najee coming back. You feel me?
I will say, Chris Jones is definitely a scaredy cat. He definitely didn't want to show up today. He ain't a real one.
He's trying to show up for when he is supposed to be there.
I will be there when my D-line coach tells me to be there.
Hey, Pat said you ain't go till Tuesday though.
You ain't go till Tuesday. I will be there when my coach tells me to be there, Pat. All right.
Spoken like a true veteran, man.
Oh God, absolutely. I'll be there when I need to be there. It's gonna be good to see Mikey P. We ain't seen Mikey P in camp because he always be at home. So I'm interested to see how he operates on the day-to-day. How many veteran days does he get? All the topics we're going to talk about during the filler for the show. Brian Cook, probably the biggest. Him and Najee be too. I'm keeping my eye on the most. See how they recovering from the rehab and now they're ready to go. Brian Cooks was the Green Bay games, and that was like halfway through the season. So he had some time to get ready. Najee had a full year. Obviously, Nick Bolton and Drew were both dealing with injuries during the playoffs. So they expect to see that both of those guys take big jumps. Charles is obviously, we don't expect to see him back no time soon to have him get ready. I hope he doesn't start the season on PUP, but I think that's more like the reality of what's going to happen. Felix, see if he takes a big jump this year and getting some of those pass rush moves that we learned from Tom this offseason. See if he puts that in the consideration. So I think everybody on this list pretty much makes sense. D-Mac, nothing crazy while you were gone. Me and DG was talking. Everything on there is pretty solid. Just we gotta wait to see who earns the spots, honestly, because the DB room. I've always said that everybody's gonna play. So like really the order essentially doesn't matter. We know Trent White is DB1, CB1, and then everybody else kind of falls in place. So it's gonna be interesting to see how guys take over and who takes over like the lead. By now, they run those different scenarios of guys who wearing the green dot this day or whatever. So overall, it makes sense to me. Nothing really crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, specifically mentioned Nazi coming back and Brian Cook. Brian Cook was an injury that I don't think a lot of people initially thought
ankle was like this.
It was maybe as severe as it initially saw, but man, when you saw the full extent of it and the results, certainly, it was unfortunate to say the least. But it makes me think about just the Super Bowl that you were able to win. Without all pro guard out there that you had to replace, obviously without your starting safety, one of your quarterbacks dealing with a torn labrum, and everything else that went into it, but still being able to get the job done. And that's a testament to this team and what they can do. And all the linebacker injuries that you had to deal with throughout the year too. But yes, like I said, prediction will be going live tomorrow on KingdomCast. And this is something that we'll kind of revisit as we go through our training camp, get into preseason games, and finally right before cut down day ends up happening as well. Manny, I got bad news for you. That's not going to work.
That's why I was laughing earlier. I was like,
Manny is our resident dreamer. Y'all gotta let Manny dream.
Shout out to you, Manny, but nah.
Shout out to Manny, gang.
Yeah, still trying to trade for Janice.
Yes, he is. Yes, Manny.
Manny be wearing that trade simulator out. He be hitting that button like this.
Manny is keeping hope alive. Absolutely. All right, so moving on. We kind of hinted at it and talked about a bit. Obviously, we got Kingsley Su'Mataia, second round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs in this last year's draft. Yeah, that's right.
I haven't said it in a while either.
Wanye Morris battling with him last year's left tackle, filling in for Donovan Smith, who is still a pending free agent out there as well. I mean, what we've heard to this point is that Kingsley is leading that competition. He's gotten the majority of the snaps. I wouldn't say the lion's share, but at least the majority of it. We did see a quote from Patrick Mahomes with some high praise, talking about another step in the journey, but he's been impressed during the offseason program from Kingsley. And I think Wanye, if he is the backup, it provides you a little bit more flexibility inside as well. And that can help you out with the roster build out as well. Shout out to Jordan Foote for this nugget as far as the quote is concerned as well. I was like so confused when I saw the Pete Sweeney tweet about the Patrick Mahomes bringing the TV screen for the first time, which College Football 25 will make you do that certainly.
You ain't never had a TV in your room.
Shout out to
that. I don't believe that.
Man, gotta watch the Olympics too, bro.
I don't believe that. You ain't never had a TV in your room ever.
Nah,
I don't believe that. But you probably bought a special one. So I'm sure you've had.
Right.
That was funny though. Ain't no way you sitting in St. Joe.
He pulled up the camera with that 80-inch this year.
Hey man, he's like, I gotta watch this tape. I gotta get my teammates, man. But no, I expect College Football 25 to be the main source of some team bonding with some tournaments. Folks gonna load it up. And
soon as we get out of practice, I'm about to whoop you in this one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear some of those stories, to say the least. So
y'all ain't trying to play on live though. I ask y'all right now, Pat, for real, if you want to play. I mean, if I win, you can give me some tickets, but we can talk about that later. You know what I'm saying? Just you know what I'm saying? We can make it interesting, a little wager. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't got $500 million.
Now you a big baller, so we ain't gotta do no money. I'm talking about other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me come hang out at the crib.
Clean the windows, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah. So left tackle battle. I mean, to you guys' point, I mean, can you see a path to Wanye Morris winning this battle from the standpoint of what you saw on tape last year? Maybe it makes a little bit more sense to start out with him and then bring Kingsley in later on in the season if it doesn't necessarily go well and he hasn't taken a step. Is there a path for Wanye as we kind of get further into training camp for him to win this job?
Yeah. As long as he comes in mentally prepared, ready to go, knows the playbook, he knows what to do. Now it's about putting it all together on the field. So obviously what we saw on tape last year, he was a very dominant run blocker. questioning time in the passing game has to be expected. So you expect those weaknesses to be corrected now and to be corrected rather quickly because, like you said, you should be more or less not worried about what to do, more so how to do it. So your first year in any offense for any player, more so lineman, you're trying to worry about your steps, where to be, where to line up, where to be in the right position. Now the fact he knows the offense and knows what to do, now you can play faster. So you know what to do. You know what Andy Heck is expecting. You know what more so what Pat is expecting in his drops and know what he does and what he doesn't like. So I expect if anybody should win a job, it should be Wanye. Now, if Kingsley come in and won, that'll be a great job of our scouting department for noticing his talent and him coming down there and executing and taking a grown man job, as Pacheco would say. But overall, I expect Wanye to win this job. You've been here. This is your years 2 in the system. You know what Andy likes. You know what Pat likes. So you should be out there the one that's making the calls, making the checks, more so correcting the younger guys, more so than them correcting you. So I expect Wanye to come here and win this job. But at this, like D-Mac just said, it's not guaranteed. So if Kingsley come in there and win the job, nobody will be shocked. The talent is good, and what we saw on the tape, the athleticism is there. But I think if I'm happy to pick somebody, I should pick Wanye. At least that's what it looks like in my eyes for now. So
yeah, I think the question for me is, does he have a chance? Yes. Do I think he's gonna win it? No. I just think that the Chiefs are probably really in love with Kingsley's athleticism and what he can bring to this team. I think they're probably willing to deal with some of the growing pains a little bit more, just based off of, like I said, what Kingsley athletically can bring to this line and what they can potentially do. I think that's going to be something that shines in training camp as we, probably see the film and things of that nature when we start seeing the one-on-ones. And, if Kingsley shines in those moments, I really think he's probably going to be locked into winning that left tackle role. Not saying that Wanye is not capable. I definitely think he is. But I just think Kingsley's athleticism and strength and the youthfulness will probably pop a little bit more at training camp. And I know that Andy has this thing of trying to bring guys along slowly and trying to let them develop and get them a little bit of time, but I just think 15 has changed all that. Like, 15's presence, I think, has really trying to kind of change Andy's mindset on certain things, and you kind of can live with some of the growing pains at that position if you got a guy back there that kind of knows what he's doing at this point in his career and past eight years in. So, like Chris just said, if Nate Taylor says it's Kingsley's job to lose, I don't know. I think Wanye could be potentially looking at a backup spot this year. So,
yeah, I mean that certainly could be possible. I wouldn't be shocked by it at all, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think it is important to kind of point out from the standpoint of what you've gotten out of this position, over the last couple of years, like since Eric Fisher went down. It's not like you've had elite offensive tackle play. I would say both of Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz from that standpoint. I don't think that you've seen elite offensive tackle play from that perspective. Obviously, you had Orlando Brown Jr. immediately, and he was, I would say, a solid left tackle to above average at times. But bringing in Donovan Smith and Wanye Morris last year, he was kind of below average, to average at times again. And Jawan Taylor, I think, did a good job at the right tackle position. But now you're looking at what that next step is going to be. Kingsley, if he comes in and gives you what Donovan Smith and Wanye Morris gave you last year at below average to average play like they did, and then he continues to get better as the season goes on, I think that's a good place to start from that perspective. And that's the advantage that Kingsley has, being a better athlete, being a higher talented prospect than Wanye Morris does. So that's next position back. That'll be cornerback too. We obviously mentioned Najee Johnson, a guy that has come back from injury, looking to get started in training camp. We got last year during training camp, the position to try to take over, an outside cornerback spot over Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams, behind L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. With Sneed now gone, obviously the position opened up to have that second cornerback spot. Watson coming back from that torn labrum. Williams obviously looking to improve upon what his sophomore season looked like. To you guys, I mean, it's anybody's game, and to CJ's point earlier, all of these guys are going to play. They are just going to. Does anybody stand out as a leader in the clubhouse from that perspective?
Yeah, not yet. I gotta stay. This is gonna be a battle. I think a lot of people are gonna have their eyes on at training camp for sure. I don't think one guy is locked into this. If I had to pick a guy probably to win this battle, it'd probably be Jalen Watson. I just think he's a little bit more polished than Joshua Williams is at this point in his career. I also like Jalen Watson's physicality a little bit more. But I could potentially see kind of a rotation of him and Joshua Williams at this spot as well too, that they kind of go with throughout the season. I don't know if there's going to be just one guy that's going to be locked into it. I know a lot of people got hopes, high hopes for Najee Johnson, but I think the Chiefs will, or that Spags and his staff will kind of probably slow play that for a little bit. Just allowing Najee to kind of get his feet wet again, coming off that injury. It's not an easy thing to do, so I wouldn't expect them to just throw him out there to the wolves. First couple weeks or whatever. So I think Jalen Watson has a good shot at winning this battle, but I would not be surprised if any other guys stepped up and won it. So.
The great thing about this DB room, honestly, is like nobody really has to win the CB2 job. I know it's a talking point for everybody to look at, but when you look at Spags defenses, it's always a week by week matchup. So what did this offense do based off our length and based off our strength and weaknesses of our DB room? Yeah. So there may be certain weeks, and we've said this on previous episodes, there may be weeks where if there's a small shifty receiver, he may have Trent play full-time slot that week. Or there may be a bigger matchup, maybe a tight end, or maybe like a Dalton Kincaid, somebody we're going up against, and he may put Jalen Watson in the slot, or maybe Najee if he likes that matchup as well, or even Chamari Connor, who I know can play slot defender as well for this defense. So there's so many options and flexibility we have with this DB group. I love it. That's why obviously we all love Snead and appreciate everything he did for this defense. And I'm not by no means saying we can replace him because he was an All-Pro. I thought he was the best corner in football, no question, in my opinion. I think most people would agree with you. But for this DB group, they've done a great job of being versatile. We've been saying that. We've been harping on that since Veach took over the job as GM. Versatility is the name of the game for the Chiefs roster. You have to be able to do more than one thing to have a major impact on this roster, and even more so on defense. So obviously Trent's going to have his weeks where he plays predominantly outside. He may have a good matchup to where he'll play in the slot, and we see those slot blitzes like he did in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, which was one of the biggest plays of the game. So there's going to be different drives and different key points of a game where you're going to see guys lined up in different parts of the field. So there's really no one guy that has to like predominantly step up, be the CB2. It's going to kind of be like a week by week thing. Josh is going to have his moments where he makes big plays when he has a great matchup. Same thing with Jalen. I expect Najee to be 100% fullback playing the way he plays, and he was playing really well for us in the slot in camp last year. So there's just so much versatility we have with this group. I love the safety group. Y'all know how I feel about last year. The hype I have for the linebacker group is how I feel about the safety group this year. I think the safety group has the potential to be arguably the best in football in the next year or two. I'm dead serious. Like, they're that athletic. They're that versatile. Everybody can do multiple things. They can run. They can tackle. Can hit. And guys can make plays when the football's in the air. So I think having that kind of versatility in that group is going to help the corners, like DG said. So I think the corner group is going to be able to be challenged. They're going to be tested when you lose a guy like Snead. But there's so much leadership, so much veteran presence in that room. When you talk about Coach Merritt, when you talk about Spags, and also the whole defensive unit as a whole, they've been through the fire. They've been through everything. They've been the weak part of this team and helped us win Super Bowls in the big moments, and they've been the team that carried the load last year and helped us lead us to a championship. So they've been on both sides of the coin, so they know what it takes and what it expects to get the standard that the Chiefs hold themselves to. So I'm excited for the DB group. I think it's going to be a really fun camp for them to see who does take over the CB2 job, but it's really no major pressure. Just be ready when your moment comes. I've said that for the last 3-4 years. I'm going to beat it like a drum. Your moment's going to come, like we said. Everyone's going to play. So when your moment's ready, just be ready for your number when it's called.
Yeah, absolutely. And you speak to obviously how the cornerback room plays into the safety room. Obviously, Shamari Connor playing more slot snaps, that also affects what everybody else does. Trent McDuffie frees him up for a little bit more versatility, certainly to be used outside. And I expect that with Jerry Snead gone, you're going to see more Trent McDuffie outside, but there's still going to be a matchup element to that, certainly. And again, these guys are all going to play. But you talk about obviously the safety room. think that this could be the best safety room in the league. Simply put, maybe it lacks one of the best safeties in the game like Antoine Winfield Jr. But I think the depth and the versatility of this group can compete with anybody. Whether you're talking about out in Seattle, New England, Baltimore, I think that you're looking at an absolutely great group from that perspective, and that gives Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Merritt, a whole lot of versatility on that back end to use in coordinates with the cornerbacks. And ultimately speaking, you trust those guys, specifically put these guys in positions to succeed. Similarly, that you trust Andy Heck to put the offensive line in position to succeed as well. And if you expect a more explosive offense that returns to top of the league rates as far as scoring is concerned, the DBs get more important and also more valuable, as not necessarily always trying
playing with the lead is a lot different than playing behind.
Absolutely. Pin yours back and have those guys go out there and make plays on the back end. So very interesting, like you said, to be fascinating to watch the entirety of the DB room, but specifically that cornerback two battle throughout training camp and into the preseason game, and honestly throughout the regular season, because I don't think it'll be anything set in stone by the time we get to week one. So clearly will be fascinating. Last one, running back three battle. There is a whole host of candidates for this position. We've got Carson Steele, who's more of a traditional fullback type. Can't necessarily run away from anybody, but it's going to go in between the tackles. Keontae Ingram, a guy that has experience that came over, and we've seen a little bit something from him. Deneric Prince, who we saw in action very briefly, did not necessarily go great, but we did see him very briefly. Amani Bailey out of TCU, a UDFA that people have been somewhat interested in, and of course, the complete wild card that is Luis Rees-Zammit coming over from Europe to be a very interesting rugby player turned football player turned special teams player. We'll see what ends up happening there from that perspective. So as you're handicapping the running back room, I mean, I will just ask flat out, is there anybody that you think should be leading this room right now as far as trying to get to that running back three spot, or do you think it's a complete crapshoot?
Wide open.
Yeah, I guess
outside of Luis, I think he's still a project, but yeah.
I mean, my expectation would probably be that Keontae Ingram would be that third running back just because of his veteran presence.
He makes the most sense. I agree.
Yeah, but there's so they don't. So let me get this straight. They don't get a roster exemption for Zammit.
No, so they use the roster exemption for True Godric. So if they put him on the practice squad, then he doesn't count to him.
Wow, so he counts.
He cannot be on the roster though. Like he has to be on the practice squad, and that will save them a practice squad spot. But Luis Rees-Zammit, he's just like any other player. So we'll see.
In my mind, I'm counting Luis as he's not there until I see him run with the ball, catching and pass, take a hit and get up. I haven't seen. I'm not saying he's not tough enough, because obviously rugby players are some of the toughest guys we've seen. But I want to see him put a helmet on, get hit. Can you hold on to the football through contact? I think people overlook that a lot. Like it's normal. Yeah. Carrying a rugby ball with two hands and doing this with a football are two different things. Especially when you have to get hit and get up and do it again. So I just want to see him. Kenny do. Yeah, catching the ball too. And they're talking about even doing returns, which is the hardest catch to do of all things. So before we talk about anything with Luis, no disrespect to him, I just want to see him play football first for a month before I give my opinion on anything. So for now, like DG said, I would give it to Ingram. He has the experience. He's played in multiple offenses. He's been on 3 rosters now. So this is his 3rd roster. So I would, if I'm picking somebody to be RB3, he would be the one. Obviously, Deneric Prince, we had a lot of hope and high hopes for him last year in the A. He still has a chance. He's still here. He's gonna be getting his reps in camp. But for right now, it's nobody's winning the battle, like we just said. But if I have to pick somebody, I would give it to Ingram for now. But we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if we sign somebody in training camp. If another veteran gets hurt, somebody wants to come back. Hell, if Jet McKinnon decided to do something miraculous and said he decided want to give it one more run, I don't think any of us would say no to that either. So I think this spot is kind of RB3 is kind of still open for business, in my opinion. After Clyde is, let's see who's healthy and who wants to get the job for sure. But you got to keep your eyes open in free agency market. So
I know a lot of people. Go ahead, D-Man. My bad.
I was gonna say, don't be shocked if Jet McKinnon's picking up his phone. Second week.
Hey, yo, Jet, what up, gang?
Right. Yeah. I know a lot of people are excited about the Zammit thing, man, but I don't.
Y'all gotta watch him play football first, bro. He ain't even put a helmet on. What are we talking about?
I personally, I was being a little bit I a little tongue in cheek by putting him on the 53-man roster projection because
Nah,
it is. But it sounds like they're excited about it, which okay. So I'll buy it for now, and then we'll see. When we see him in training camp and we see the preseason games, and I'll adjust accordingly. But I agree. I mean, I don't expect him to play offensive snaps for everything that we talked about. The mechanics
Absolutely
of the game
not.
are completely different. It's too complex from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Could they get him up to speed to see special teams work? Maybe. We'll end up seeing. The kid's tough. He's fast. He is an athlete. I think as far as kid coverage is concerned, that's something that you can work on and teach him. Blocking, he probably, you can work on and teach him. It's just about if he can return the ball, which we'll see. So,
we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm really gonna watch
like
this funny. I want to see him go through. I want to see him go through a bag drill. Like, does he get his knees up? Is he coordinated? Does he get his shift down? Does he run with his pads below? How does he take a hit and get back up and do it again? These are the things I want to, like, basic football terms that I want to see. So I'm excited to see him actually just go through a normal football drill. Just go through a cone drill, go through one-on-one, like do some type of Oklahoma drill. How does he run through contact? I'm excited to see all these things.
I'll probably play the bad guy here. I don't want to see this guy make the roster. I'm sorry.
DT said put him in the bin.
I'm not saying that, like, and obviously, like, they can take. I just think they could take their time, develop.
Don't rush at all.
Don't rush it. Like,
absolutely.
If he's ready next year, cool.
For sure.
But like,
we don't have to see him this year.
Yeah, I don't have to see him this year. If that's,
we really don't.
It's a cool story, but I know a lot of people are excited, and it's a really cool story, and I'm definitely excited to see what he can do once the pads come on and stuff like that too. But I just think it's just such a hard transition to go from one sport to another, and then just
And you're playing for the best team in football. It's different when you're playing for a bottom tier team. We have expectations here, so it's like I'm not saying I don't want him to succeed. I hope he does, and I think he will.
Yeah, I do too.
Right now, in the middle of a three-peat run, I'm not experimenting with international players at one of your most important positions, especially being on offense. Like, yeah, bro. If he makes the roster, great. If he makes practice squad, even better. I think there's no pressure on him to just go out there, just work on your game. But if we're adding an RB3, which in our offense usually plays pretty significant snaps at times, I would much rather us go get a veteran in camp for a guy who gets cut, maybe a guy who's not going to make someone's roster, maybe someone gets an injury pickup here and there. Those are the things I would rather do at RB3. But if Ingram is the guy they decide to roll with, I wouldn't be mad at it. But I'm definitely keeping my eye out for guys during training camp cuts for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
I completely agree with you as far as that's concerned. We'll see what comes of the cut downs and see if there's a chance possibly for any type of running back to kind of stick on in this roster and late. Of course, Jed McKinnon's phone will be right by the bedside. I'm sure of it.
Hey, Andy, I don't want to go to camp, so you just holler at me when training camp over. I'll pull up.
All right.
That's probably what he said. As soon as y'all pack up the bags, I'll come to KC. My crib's still there. You know what I'm saying?
Deadpool, my veteran card.
I ain't mad at him. I don't want to practice either.
You're like, coach, my back right now.
I'm rehabbing right now. As soon as you need me, Andy, you know I'm there when you need me, Andy. You say Coach Reed. What do you be saying, Coach Reed?
They gonna get closer to week one. He gonna be like,
hey, I'm ready. Hey, Andy, I'm ready. I can hop on the plane right now.
Good now, Coach.
I'm actually in Texas, so I ain't really that far. I can hop on the flight. I'm only like an hour out for real. If you need me. So this training camp over, that phone will be blowing up. Hey, yo, Beach, what up,
last night, you said y'all.
Pat said y'all really need me. I'll come back. Miko came back in 1 year. I'll take one too.
All right.
Oh man. So to wrap up the show, gonna do a little bit of a fun, interesting exercise. So the ESPN has been doing like their rankings, and look, this is a list time of the year everybody's doing, ranking my position, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought that the way that Cam Newton kind of did his quarterback tiers was very kind of interesting. And I enjoyed listening to the podcast. And so he did it by a few different groups. And this is the first group. I'm not going to actually play the video for copyright reasons, but I'm just going to show the screen grab of it. So the first one was that you're our guy and nothing else matters but the postseason. And that's the people that he ended up having for that group. Second group was, can you win in this current in this league in your current situation? I almost cut off one person at the end there. God bless. And that's who we ended up having in that group specifically, which
you go back to group one? My bad, I didn't see it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. There you go. It's group one.
Our guy, nothing else matters. Josh, Lamar, Patty, Joe, Aaron, Dak, Jared, Staff, Kirk. Okay, I'm cool with that.
And then group three was, are you the reason or is the team the reason? Guys like Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa making up this group. And I believe, did he have, and then he had the too soon to say with the rookie quarterback. So I took this and I kind of took the same tiers and just ordered them how I personally would. And so I'm going to use that to kind of guide our discussion about Cam Newton's tiers, which I thought actually were a pretty nice way to kind of break it up, even if I disagreed with the individuals who I would put in it specifically. If I find it, there we go. So there we go. And I just did, starting quarterbacks. Nobody's really caring about the backups and stuff. So he had Mahomes in the tier with everybody else. I refuse to put Mahomes in the tier with anybody else. He's just going to Super Bowl bust tier. Which Cam Newton did say he's the guy that is Super Bowl or bust because he's put the bar that high. And so, he earned that tier. So the guy and nothing else but the playoffs matter. I thought that it was appropriate for all these guys. And again, this is not how I would personally rank these guys. I did my quarterback tiers on Sunday quarterbacks for those that maybe followed me over there, and I retweeted and stuff and put it up. But this is just according to the grouping that Cam Newton did. And I included Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff here because I think both of these guys both are locked into their teams. Aaron Rodgers is a little bit more so for the power that they've given him. But specifically, it's like, hey, you got to win or there's really no point to being here at this point. It's not like you're a young guy developing, et cetera, et cetera. And for the rest of those guys, and Matthew Stafford kind of fits into it as Matthew Stafford kind of tries to put together a Hall of Fame case. But for those other four guys that are a little bit younger, they're all just chasing that ring that validates their career. And can you do that in the playoffs? Simply put, is the major part of it. Can you win in this league consistently? CJ Stroud being here, he would be, higher, obviously, in general.
He's going to be on tier 2 next year. Yeah, he just has to go do it again.
He's a rookie. He's got to go do it. I think it still applies, even though Trevor Lawrence does have a playoff win. I think it still applies to him because they did have a down year last year. Justin Herbert, I think it certainly applies to Jordan Love. Only had that one first year starting. Kyler Murray, injuries. We got to see him do it. Geno still trying to prove himself. Kirk Cousins, all that money that you got paid, I got to see you win consistently. You can't have one playoff win. You got to go out there and do it with the Falcons as far as I'm concerned. And I think it applies to Russ and Justin Fields, both of them. Justin Fields coming over Chicago, better situation than you were there. Hey, if you're the starter, can you win in this league consistently in a better offensive structure? And same thing for Russ. Can you still get it done in this league? I think it applies to him there. Is it you or the team? Dak Prescott being here, again, he would be higher as far as my tiers are concerned. But a lot of people question the Cowboys. And he has an expiring contract. So this is something that's going to be coming down to it as well. The rest of these guys are either, solid quarterbacks but have elite surroundings or, just man quarterbacks. And we're just going to see if you guys can stick on your team as well. Too soon to say all the young guys. I think that all qualifies. And then the last group is just, hey, can you seize the opportunity if a job comes your way, or can you play well enough even though you're keeping the seat warm for the young guy behind you to continue to get contracts in this league? So that's important. Anything you guys disagree with as far as these tiers are concerned?
Yeah, like we said, Dak could come up, obviously.
Yeah, I would probably put
Dak. They've won 10 plus games. Dang near is over rare. Outside the years he's hurt, they've won 10 plus games almost every year. So he always wins. He just doesn't get to the playoffs and do anything.
I'd probably move Dak up to that to the tier, the guy, nothing else matters.
Because he makes the playoffs, they just lose.
Yeah. I like where you have CJ because it's just been 1 year.
He'll be tier 2 next year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate Tua moving up one, but I get it. He was hurt, had a really good year last year. Can he go win again consistently? I think that kind of applies to him. Because obviously his team is amazing. Not getting the question there, but he did have a really good year last year.
Yeah.
I want to see can he do it again.
I think him and Purdy.
Cool.
Him and Purdy to me are in the same boat. Is it the team or is it or is it you? Not saying that. I think in my opinion, I think Purdy's a little bit better.
Me too.
My opinion. I just think that Purdy to me could probably go up to that tier 3 at some
If he has
point.
another good year, absolutely.
Yeah,
He can move up for sure.
But right now, I do believe that the talent that they kind of do have around that team kind of helps him in a sense. I know that's definitely the case for Tua. I think if he was on any other team, he probably wouldn't be as good. I'm really excited about that too soon to say tier, just because I love watching all the young guys and seeing what they're going to be capable of.
Good value on
Definitely
there.
intrigued to see what Bryce does in his second year with all those weapons that they were able to kind of pull in this year for him. Excited to see Anthony Richardson come back from injury.
Please stay healthy.
Yeah, hopefully stay healthy. Don't mind Michael Penix sitting for a year behind Kirk Cousins and learning, but could see him potentially this year at some point if say if Kirk goes down or whatever. And then I think the guy Caleb Williams has a lot to prove, man. Got that big contract today, and now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Go out there and ball. So see what's capable of it. But that last tier is god awful.
We should bet on last year.
Good luck. That's all I gotta say.
Gardner Minshew.
Good luck.
Minshew will play 8 games.
Good luck.
Jacoby Brissett will play over 10. So I'll take the over on his.
You said you really think he's gonna play over 10 games?
Yeah, I think he'll play 10 games.
I think they go to Drake May a little bit early. I think they give Jacoby a little bit, like a quarter of the season, just to make sure
it depends on how their season's going. But if they're not winning, like losing games, I think they may let. Because when they're bye, is their bye after week 10 or before week 10? I figured it was after week 10. I think obviously Jameis is going to play. Sam Darnold's going to get a lot of snaps until something bad happens, like it always does with him.
I think Zach Wilson starts for Broncos.
I think he does too. Yeah, Bo Nix ain't scaring nobody.
Their bye week is week 16, so they
Jesus Christ. Never mind. They got the latest bye in American history. My goodness. He may come.
It's like week 14. I'm sorry, I stretched it, but I do think that I think Brissett's going to end up getting like a quarter to maybe 5 to 6 weeks of the season, and then they're like, okay, we think the offensive line is acceptable. We'll put Drake out there. Sam Darnold, I think there's a chance that he just has a kind of an okay start to the season, and he holds off JJ McCarthy for a while. We'll see.
I highly doubt. Yeah, he's not going to be there long for sure.
No, he's not going to be there. I don't think he gets past midway this season, but I think he might be there as a starter.
I give him 5 games.
Yeah, when people are kind of just handing over to JJ.
I'm only giving Gardner. Gardner's getting 4 games, 3 games. Gardner's not going to be there. Anytime interception, Gardner's going to come out there like, all right, Aiden, get back in there.
The things that Shane Steichen had to do to make Gardner Minshew workable last year was
hilarious. That's what I'm saying, bro.
It's just awful.
He starts.
I know you mentioned Zach Wilson earlier. Unless Bo Nix gets hurt, I don't see any way that they end up going away from Bo Nix. But God bless if they do. The other guy
in the mirror.
The 2 guys here, though.
Spider-Man meme.
Jameis Winston and Spencer Rattler. Both Jameis Winston. I mean, Jameis Winston's a little bit more injury because of the contract, for how terrible the contract is for Deshaun Watson. But Derek Carr, there's a chance that they can get out of it at the end of the year. So maybe they go to Spencer Rattler midway through the year if things aren't going well and down in New Orleans. So, and the last guy I mentioned, Daniel Jones and his injury history and $40 million that he doesn't deserve to have. Drew Lock could be a possibility. And yes, I am wearing a Mizzou shirt.
You put Daniel Jones on there? Oh, I didn't even see him.
Yes, he's right behind Derek Carr.
DG.
I swear on my life.
Hey, don't let Vinny see this.
I did not even. My bad. Hey, Vinny, don't kill me, bro. I did not see him, bro.
Hey, Vinny,
I did not see him at all.
Hey, ain't no Saquon to save him. Okay, so we're gonna have to see what he can do.
Flacco down there and be petty. You definitely. I think he's going to put Flacco.
I'm not putting no down for Joe Flacco. He can stay down here with Andy
Dalton.
Oh,
there he is. Oh, I didn't see him.
Oh, there they go.
You went scroll down. I didn't see him. That's why I'm looking. I didn't see him.
Hey, he can stay down.
Man, put my man Mac Jones up there, man. Seize the opportunity.
Flacco can get a job. Don't do
Flacco. Mac Jones Mac Jones finally figured out that he was always destined to be a backup quarterback, and he's taking full advantage of it. Shout out to Mac Jones for finally accepting that you were a backup quarterback this entire time. The Patriots completely
put Joe Flacco in the seize opportunity.
No
man,
reason.
Where my man Drew Lock at, man? Put Drew Lock up there, man.
Drew Lock, he and Richard and Jacoby Brissett and Spencer Rattler.
Joe Flacco need to be up there. You know what I'm saying?
Seize the opportunity, man. You know.
That's why he there, man. I think he can seize that opportunity for the Giants, man. Him and Malik Neighbors, a little sweet connection.
Take that job, man.
Shout out to Drew Lock, man.
Man, something happened at yard, man. Joe Flacco will sling that bit.
For my fans,
ain't gonna be falling asleep on the bench like this.
Please don't let anything happen to AR for my fans.
Hey, Joe Flacco's like this on the bench.
Right.
He was on that bitch sleep. That was so funny. Yeah, that 40-year-old Flacco, I know he was sleepy as shit. He was on the bench.
I think I do agree with you guys that I was Dak. Not that I don't think that, like, I have Dak as a tier 2 quarterback in my own personal tiers, but I think he does qualify a little bit more for this.
He's made the playoffs almost all the time. He wins 10+ games religiously. They won the division.
He's their guy. He just
gets to
needs to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, he just gets to January, but they're making the playoffs. They do that all the time.
So we will see if he's their guy next year.
That too, yeah.
Trey Lance. Oh boy.
Trey Lance.
Where's Trey Lance at?
If they go with Trey Lance as a starting quarterback next year, that'd be so funny. But yeah, what's up? God bless. But yeah, so that wraps up the show we got for you guys today, man.
We are back.
We are back. Like I said, Chiefs training camp has returned back at St. Joe. CJ and I will be up there this coming Monday, man, for that first practice. I'm looking forward to it, certainly, dog. Yeah, I'm excited. We've got football back around the corner. You know, bucket hat season is here, man. Yeah, I'm excited. Anything before we go ahead and get on out of here?
Can I shout out my playback real quick?
Absolutely.
Playback 91 to Infinity Radio. The We Outside tour begins this Friday at 6:30. So pull up for that, man. If y'all, like good
big
music,
big vibe,
or whatever, little house music vibe will be going off on there, or whatever. And man, just pull up and have a good time, man. Subscribe to the channel, man. 91 to Infinity Radio on playback.
Shout out to GG, man. Always somebody that's spinning good music, dog, and we need that man to be an Arrowhead. So continue to add the Chiefs, continue to add Chris Jones. We got the best DG in the land for him to go ahead. And
tell him I'm available for training camp. Just call
Chris
the
up. The music at Arrowhead, respectfully, it sucks. They even said it. The players are telling you what they want. Give them what they want, man.
If they need a trial run, go ahead, invite DG up to camp. He'll go ahead and give y'all some nice playlists that he'll go out there DJ for. See how the players like. If they like it, then go ahead and invite him to a preseason game.
What y'all got now?
Preseason game, see how it goes, and then we go from there, man.
They already told y'all we don't like it, so what's the hurt in trying? Ain't no hurt in trying something new.
I tell you what, told you. DG be having this lit pregame during the season, so I need y'all to follow suit, Chiefs. Okay.
What y'all doing now ain't working. It ain't working.
Right. See it through. Look, make the players happy, dog. Y'all. Andy Reid gonna have these boys running. Andy Reid gonna have these boys running. Make them happy. You have DG.
At least have some music they want to listen to. Is that asking for a lot? I'm not asking for a lot.
It's not asking for a lot, man. At all. All right. Good time, good podcast, man. Great talks as far as the roster was concerned. Great talks as far as the battles were concerned. A little bit of fun with the quarterback tiers there as well. Thank you guys once again. Please do on the lookout. Kingdom Cast Thursday nights as well. We'll be back next week. Look, we're in it now. Dude, we no more weeks off, dog. Ain't no more weeks off. We are full steam ahead. Getting ready for the season. Next week, we're going to go over the division previews because we weren't able to get down it. And like I said, CJ and I will be recapping whatever we were able to see from the first day of camp and anything that's happened in between then. So until we talk again, man, for Tell the Truth, I'm D-Mac, CJ, DG, man. Peace out. Go Chiefs.